Hey, everybody, and welcome to another deep dive. We'd love to get our hands dirty with some documentation.
Absolutely.
And today we're looking at security
Ooh.
in the printing industry. And this is going to be good stuff for you guys because we're talking about Fiery,
Right.
and we're talking about two different white papers that they have out.
Mm-hmm.
One is about their cloud offering,
Right.
which is the Fiery IQ suite.
Uh-huh.
And then the other one is about their on-premise servers,
Mm-hmm.
the Fiery FS600 Pro and the FS600.
Yeah.
So the idea is you're a print professional.
Mm-hmm.
You've got all this data flowing through your systems every day.
Right.
And, you're dealing with customer data, financial records,
Yeah.
designs things that you really don't want to get out.
Absolutely. And that's the key thing here is that, we're talking about the printing industry,
Uh-huh.
but this applies to any business, right? I mean,
Mighty-
protecting your data is paramount, and especially these days when, cybersecurity threats are increasing. Data breaches are becoming more common. It's really, critical to make sure that you have the right security measures in place.
Yeah, if you're a print professional,
Yeah.
You can't afford to have, a data breach happen
Yeah.
because, it's not just about the financial loss.
Yeah.
It's about the reputation damage. It's about the legal ramifications.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot at stake here.
Definitely.
Let's dig into this.
Okay.
So first up, we're talking about the cloud,
Sure.
the Fiery IQ suite.
Mm.
Now, this thing collects data to manage your print jobs,
Yeah.
right? It collects things like job logs, color measurements,
Right.
printer status.
Yeah, all that metadata, all that stuff that helps you optimize your workflow
Right.
and make sure things are running smoothly.
But when you hear something that says we're collecting data, that can be a little bit concerning,
Sure.
right? So my first question is, how much data is actually going up to the cloud?
Right. Well, that's the interesting thing is that Fiery IQ is very specific about what they collect. And they make it clear in the white paper that the actual content that you're printing stays local.
Okay.
So they're not sending your customers' financial records
Right.
or those sensitive designs up to the cloud. What they are collecting is metadata
Okay.
about the job. So they know you printed 100 copies of a brochure,
Uh-huh.
but they don't know what that brochure says.
Okay, so it's really like operational stuff.
Exactly.
Okay, that's good to know. That's reassuring.
Right.
But sending any data to the cloud, it makes me a little bit nervous. How does Fiery IQ keep that data locked down?
Well, they've taken a very comprehensive approach to security. They call it defense in depth.
Okay.
And so they have multiple layers of security, starting with the fact that Fiery IQ is hosted on Amazon Web Services.
Okay, AWS.
AWS in Ireland. And so they're leveraging the robust security infrastructure of AWS.
Okay, so they're basically piggybacking on AWS.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're not reinventing the wheel.
Right.
They're using a platform that's already known for its security.
Okay, but what about within Fiery IQ itself?
Right. So within Fiery IQ, they have additional layers of security. They have data segregation,
Okay.
which means that each customer's data is isolated.
Okay.
It's like separate digital vaults.
Uh-huh.
And then they have multi-factor authentication.
Okay.
So it's not just a password protecting your stuff. It's, you need to have that second factor
Right.
to get in. And then they have role-based access control,
Okay.
which means that you can decide who in your team can see what.
Right, so not every Tom, Dick, and Harry
Exactly.
can get in there and see the data.
Exactly. You have control over who has access to what.
Okay, that's good.
And then, of course, all communication with Fiery IQ is encrypted
Okay.
using TLS and WSS.
So it's like sending a coded message that only the right people can read.
Exactly. So even if someone were to intercept that data,
Uh-huh.
they wouldn't be able to understand it.
Okay, good.
And of course, they're GDPR compliant. They address data location concerns, and they also highlight their commitment to data backups and disaster recovery.
So if something does go wrong, they've got you covered.
Exactly. They've thought about, all the different aspects of security.
Okay, that actually makes me feel a lot better about cloud printing.
Good.
But what about the servers that we have in our own shops? Those are like treasure chests of data.
Right. Those are the Fort Knox of your printing operation.
Right, exactly. And they're sitting there, and they've got all kinds of memory. They've got flash memory. They've got CMOs. They've got NVRAM. They've got hard drives. They've got SSDs.
Right. All kinds of non-volatile memory storing all that data.
What happens to all that data?
Yeah.
Especially when you know a job is done, or if you have to retire a server. What happens to all that data?
That's a great question, and that's where the second white paper comes in.
Okay.
And that's where we're going to dive in next.
All right, let's do it.
Let's talk about on-premise security.
Okay.
All right, so
Part 2 Here we come.
Let's get into it. All right, so we're talking on-premise security now.
Okay, so we're in the print shop. These servers are just humming away.
Right, and like you said, they've got all these different types of memory storing data.
Right.
Flash, NVRAM, hard drives, SSDs.
All right.
It's a lot to think about.
Yeah, so how does Fiery approach securing all this data?
Well, they've got a really multi-layered approach, which is good.
Yeah.
One of the things that they do is they encrypt sensitive data.
Okay.
So things like passwords, configuration settings, all that kind of stuff is encrypted.
Okay, so even if somebody, was able to physically get to the server
Right.
and get the hard drive out of there,
Right.
that's still protected.
Exactly. It's scrambled. It's unreadable.
Okay.
Unless you have the key to decrypt it.
Got it.
They also offer a secure erase option.
Okay.
So when you delete data, it's not just, marking it as deleted. It's actually overwriting that data multiple times to make sure that it's really unrecoverable.
Okay, so you're not just hitting the delete key, you're like hitting it 100 times.
Exactly. It's like digital shredding.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's really good for, peace of mind, knowing that that sensitive data is really gone.
Yeah, because I know that you can recover deleted data pretty easily in a lot of cases.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a whole industry around data recovery.
Right. So this is like taking that extra step.
Exactly. It's going above and beyond to make sure that that data is really gone.
Got it. Okay. So that takes care of the data itself.
Right.
What about securing access to the server?
Right. So that's another key part of the security strategy. They have physical port security.
Okay.
So you can control access to things like USB ports, Ethernet ports.
Yeah.
Other physical ports on the server.
You don't want just anybody plugging something in there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then on the network side, they have IP filtering.
Okay.
To control incoming connections. They have network authentication.
Okay.
Using protocols like SNMP-v3 802.1x. And of course, they have encryption for all data traveling over the network.
Okay, so they've locked it down pretty tight.
Yeah, they've got layers upon layers of security.
Let's say hypothetically somebody does get past all those defenses somehow.
Oh, okay.
Can they see sensitive print jobs that are sitting in the queue?
That's a good question, and that's where user authentication comes in.
Okay.
So Fiery servers offer a number of different user authentication options. You can do local authentication. You can integrate with external servers using LDAP.
Okay.
Or you can even use single sign-on with Microsoft Entra ID.
Okay.
And for those who want the ultimate protection, there's multi-factor authentication.
Right. So it's not just about, knowing the password. You've got to jump through a couple of hoops.
Exactly. It's that extra layer of security to make sure that it's really
Okay, so they've got a lot of different options there depending on, how secure you want to be.
Exactly. It's about, choosing the right level of security for your environment.
Okay, so that's good to know. But we're not done yet, right? There's more.
Oh, there's more.
They got even more security features.
Yeah, they've got this thing called Secure Print, which requires a job-specific password at the printer before the job will be released.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
So even if somebody manages to sneak a job into the queue, they can't actually print it unless they have that password.
So you can't just accidentally print something that's confidential?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I like that.
They also have printed queue management.
Okay.
So you can control how long completed jobs stay in the queue.
Okay.
So, you can set it so that after a certain amount of time, those jobs are automatically deleted.
Okay.
So that, you're not keeping sensitive data hanging around any longer than necessary.
Right. Less is more in that case.
The less data you have hanging around, the less you have to worry about.
Right.
And then for scanning, they have options to send scans directly to secure storage or workstations.
Okay.
So you can bypass the server altogether.
Okay, so you don't even have to worry about the server being compromised in that case.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about hardware security. We've talked about network security.
Right.
We've talked about user authentication. We've talked about secure printing and scanning. But what about the operating system itself?
Oh, that's a great point.
What if the OS is compromised?
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Isn't that a major vulnerability?
It is a major vulnerability, and that's why Fiery has taken a two-pronged approach.
Okay.
On the one hand, they have their FS600 servers, which run on Linux.
Okay.
These are designed as closed systems with limited network visibility, which makes them much harder to hack.
So it's like they're in a bunker.
Exactly. They're in a digital bunker. It's hard to even see them, let alone get to them.
Right.
On the other hand, they have their FS600 Pro servers, which run on Windows 10 IoT Enterprise 2021 LCSC.
Wow, that's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful, but
Yeah.
it's basically a version of Windows that's specifically designed for embedded systems,
Right.
like Fiery servers.
Got it.
And it has extended security updates and none of the extra stuff that you don't need. That can sometimes lead to vulnerabilities.
So it's like a stripped-down, secure version of Windows.
Exactly. It's just the essentials.
I like it. Okay, so both options have their own security advantages.
Right.
But security is a constantly evolving game, right?
Absolutely.
So how does Fiery keep up with the latest threats?
Well, they have a dedicated security team that's constantly monitoring for vulnerabilities.
Okay.
They release patches as quickly as possible.
Uh-huh.
And they also comply with a whole bunch of security standards.
Okay.
Things like FIPS 142, CIS, benchmarks, common criteria.
Okay, it's like an alphabet soup of security.
It is an alphabet soup, but it's all about making sure that they're meeting the highest security standards.
Right.
And that they're staying ahead of the bad guys.
Right. So it's not just about building a strong fortress, but about constantly reinforcing it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this has been really informative.
Okay.
But let's get practical here.
Okay.
What are some key takeaways for our print professionals?
All right. So if you want to improve your security, here are a few things you can do.
Okay, Emmy.
Number one, change your default passwords.
Oh, yeah. That's Security 101.
Security 101. You would be surprised how many people don't do this.
It's like leaving your key under the mat.
Exactly. It's just asking for trouble.
Right.
Number two, use the high security profile on your Fiery server. This will give you the maximum level of protection.
Got it.
Number three, disable unnecessary services and ports.
Okay.
This will reduce your attack surface.
Less doors, less windows to break in.
Exactly.
Okay.
Number four, implement network access control.
Okay.
And strong passwords for all user accounts. You don't want people using password 1, 2, 3.
No bad idea.
And then finally, keep your software updated.
Oh, yeah. Always a good idea.
Both the Fiery system software and the underlying operating system.
Right. Because outdated software, that's like a welcome mat for hackers.
It's like a flashing neon sign saying, hack me.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. That's great advice. Anything else we should keep in mind?
You know, don't be afraid to call on the experts.
Really?
Work with IT professionals to assess your specific security needs.
Right. Every print environment's different.
Every environment's different, so it's good to have somebody who can come in and take a look.
Right. And give you some tailored advice.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, this has been an eye-opening deep dive into the world of print security.
It has.
It's clear that Fiery takes this stuff seriously.
They do.
And they've built some really robust systems to protect their customers.
They have.
But it's also clear that security is a shared responsibility.
It is.
We as print professionals need to be proactive and vigilant in protecting our businesses and our clients.
Absolutely. We can't just rely on the vendors to do everything for us.
Right.
We have to take responsibility for our own securities.
Well said.
It's been quite a journey.
What's the biggest takeaway from all this?
I think the biggest takeaway is that print security is not a one-time thing.
Right.
It's an ongoing process.
It's a journey.
It's a journey. It's about staying informed, adapting to new threats, and building a culture of security in your shop.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
You got to be proactive and vigilant.
Absolutely.
Well, this has been an amazing deep dive into the world of print security.
It has.
Thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure.
And until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay secure.